people, Deluded, I'm back again. I'm in my lunch break, so I thought I'd make some videos. Apologies if the quality isn't quite as high. Apologies if it goes out of focus, because I remember one of the times I tried to do this, it was going out of focus. It's not my fault. I'm still living and learning on my journey. You know, I just try to provide content wherever I can. And I've got a couple things, not really anything of note to speak about, but I thought I'd share some. First and foremost, I think I mentioned it in another vid, but Dani Ceballos. Again, I don't want to get excited about him because people were raving about him against Burnley. Then he was public enemy #1 against Liverpool. Then he was back on against, obviously, Spurs when he came off the bench. People were liking him again. And I think he's a good player. I would hope that we try and sign him permanently. I am getting scared, though, in that, obviously, you saw his performance. It wasn't the best of performances from Spain in general, or Dani Ceballos, but he earned a penalty for his nation. He was involved in the build-up for the second goal, as well. So, obviously, he's playing for Spain. Real Madrid officials and everybody are watching their national team play. And they, obviously, you've got to remember, these presidents and managers and things, on some scale, they're like us. They're sitting in a room with their people in a room like this. And there might be Zidane with his people. Obviously, he's not Spanish, but Real Madrid coaches, or Zidane, or more Perez, the president. They might be sitting there saying, he's on loan at Arsenal. We need to bring him back, sort of thing. It's in his best interest for Dani Ceballos to play, because obviously he wants to first and foremost be a regular in Real Madrid, which is what he wants. I want us to get, if there is any hope of signing permanently, we've got to get that done ASAP, because if he carries on playing how he started his Arsenal career, obviously he's going to go to the Euros with Spain. If he has a good season and goes to the Euros, it's good for Madrid because it sparks a bidding war. It's bad for us because other teams could be interested and his head could be turned. I mean, you heard AC Milan wanted him. That's a reputable club. You heard other teams in the Premier League want him. Other teams in the Premier League might have a look at him as well. Obviously, with the whole Pogba and Hazard, Pogba and Eriksen's future, how feasible is it, people? Because I think out of Neymar and Pogba, I think Pogba is more likely to go in January, people, purely because it doesn't make sense for Barcelona to buy Neymar in January, despite the fact that he's a good player. In fact, besides the fact he's a good player, because surely the point of signing Neymar isn't to necessarily win the Spanish league. Obviously, you want to win the league, but it's the Champions League. I'd assume he would have, I know he's got a ban in Europe, but I would assume by then he would have played for PSG in the Champions League. So while they can sign him and just get the move done if they can, it would be kind of pointless. Pogba, forgive me if I'm wrong, they changed the rules. He can be registered in the Champions League for Madrid, so they can get him in January, and it's kind of irrelevant the 6 months if he was to go with what he's done in Europe in the Europa League with United, you get it? So who knows in that, but I'm going off topic. So that was about Dani Ceballos. Eddie Nketiah, a young striker who's gone to Leeds to take the next step in his personal career in regards to certifying himself as a professional footballer. He's had something to say, and I must say I have to big up Ian Wright, because I know Ian Wright does some work on a part-time basis with Leeds' strikers, and he's got a good sort of bromance of sorts, or with Eddie Nketiah. I won't say bromance, probably Eddie looks at him as an uncle or something, because obviously they've been in the same different positions at Arsenal, of course, because he has a long way to go before he can be mentioned in the same breath as Ian Wright, but they've kind of dealt with pressure of Eddie at some level, pressures of being a striker in the professional game and playing for Arsenal, because in his career he's already had it. Is he good enough to cut the grade at Arsenal? Is he not? What I believe he can do is get 15 to 20 goals in the league next season. People say, yeah, that's great, but it's only Championship. Can you do it in a top league? Can you do it again in the Championship? Can you come to Arsenal and do it again? So there's always going to be questions, and that's what he needs to do. But first and foremost, he's getting confidence at Leeds and stuff, playing week in, week out. I'd like to see him start some games, but that's what he wants. And for me, come back next summer, more belief that you can make it here, or if he's deemed that he's not going to be given a chance, he could be sold and potentially bring in 20 or so million for the club, because I believe it's a tough decision. I know he wants to make it at Arsenal, and he's kind of said that, but once you get that sniff of first team football, you're not going back to 23s. And how much games is it feasible for him to play at Arsenal? Long term, you could make a case of Arsenal needing to look for a striker, because Lacazette will have 2 years left on his deal by the end of this campaign. Aubameyang will be 31. There's rumours, we'll get onto it, but both of them, contract stuff with both of them. But keeping up with Eddie Nketiah, he said, the manager wanted me to stay, so it's really confidence boosting for me that he had me in his plans. But I felt it was a good step for me to come to Leeds. I hope it's a good year that can leave me in good stead going back to Arsenal to fight for a place, which obviously he wants to go to Arsenal. He's seen it, people. Again, Emery wanted to keep him, but did Emery want to keep him just for depth purposes? Did Emery have legit plans to start him? I don't know. If he's obviously had honest words, and he's got to be there. It's like, you've got to say to Emery, obviously I know I'm not Lacazette and Aubameyang's level, but how realistic is it, me training week in, week out, and you might have the confidence in me to pick, beyond the fact that they're quality players, pick me above them? Because the reality is, even though he's a good player and he has to play his position, if Emery is not looking at it that Lacazette, I'll have no qualms, starting Laka, Aubameyang or Eddie, and that he sees them not at same level but same level, then he has to go out on loan, because he can't deal with the dangled carrot of potentially Europa League players get injured. You just take your chance. You can only deal with facts. He's going to get more games at Leeds. He's still being blooded in, but he's going to get more games, and that was more of a sensible choice so that you can end the season playing 20 plus games and just as a stronger player. Because for me, he can't afford to play, him and Joe Willock, he can't afford to play 23s football. How many videos did I make about it, people? And I'm happy that Eddie's gone on loan to develop himself, and Willock's been put into the first team picture, because last season they've been too good for 23s level for a while now, people, but that one really was the biscuit. So it was nice to see that from Eddie, and he said he did have the option to go to Germany as well, people, in which he said there were a lot of options. There were options for me to go to Germany, but me, my family and the club decided Leeds was the best place. We all heard about the presentation stuff. If Leeds won the race, they won the race, people. Personally, I wanted Eddie to go to Germany purely because it's a top league, less question marks asked. If he scores 20 league goals there, obviously he has to do it again, but there's less question marks. But I support anything. In short, he just needs to go and get first team football. So I'm big up Eddie, man. Keep developing, and hopefully come back and have a fair chance to make the grade at this club. Moving on, people, if you give me a second. Speaking about Martinelli, I was just checking nothing was on the other page, but Martinelli said he's had some thoughts to say, and it's interesting. I think Martinelli's first start will come against Nottingham Forest. I think it's very telling that he's barely played in the first team in official capacity in the league started, but he ain't played for the 23s. That shows you he's still being integrated. He might play some games for them, but that just shows you he's part of the first team, and we're taking our time, at least for these first 6 months until January and whatnot. He'll get opportunities. He's made his Premier League debut. He looks like a good young player, so I'm excited to see, man. I'm not expecting fireworks from any of him, but with Martinelli, with Joe, with Saka, with obviously all the other young players in and around the team, Tyrese, John Jules, Reece Nelson, Emil Smith-Rowe is injured at the moment. These are good options for us to have in our squad at some capacity. Whether they can become first names on the team sheet or squad players or backup options is down to them and developing. But we need to look at our academy, because I do believe Arsenal and Chelsea as well is completely irrelevant, but they've got some players that can step up. Like Chelsea, they could literally make 100 million if they sell a lot of these academy players. I kid you not, people. Or they could save 100 million if they develop the Reece Jameses, for me, the first one, and players like that. They've got players. But back to Arsenal, he said, my adaptation period has been the best possible. I had a strong pre-season where I was able to play a good role and show my qualities. I'm in a new place, a different culture, another style of play, and only with time and working day to day will I develop in the best way possible. So you see it, people, there's no real pressure, just let him develop. He said, I was received by the team in the best way possible. Being very young, I got a little shy because I only saw these players on the television, but they welcomed me very well, and they made me feel at home from them, and made me feel at home, and it's been giving me the best position to learn on a daily basis. He's also said, I know the squad is packed with great players, but I know what I can do, and my goal is to help the team. I think we can achieve great things this season by winning titles and making our name in Arsenal's history, and that's nice to see. He might be a bit naive because of his age, but that's nice to see. He believes in his ability. He recognises that he's nowhere near being a first teamer. He recognises that it's going to take a while, but he's confident in his abilities, and we're not expecting instant results. Obviously, when you're Brazilian, especially at Arsenal, where Gilberto Silva is there, and we've had Edu, and there's a couple others, but we ain't really had exciting Brazilian players, and definitely we ain't had a Brazilian player in our squad in how many years, people. So obviously when they see Arsenal, typical of many years, we'll sign a player from unknown and they'll come and be a banger. When you hear Martinelli signed from Brazilian, very good technical abilities, and you see some of these YouTube clips, people are expecting fireworks, but we need to just be easy. He's also spoken about how Edu's helped him settle in and things like that, people, as well, which is good. Apparently Frank Lampard decided to sell David Luiz after he kept trying to play one too many long balls in the pre-season game against Red Bull Salzburg. I don't know how true that is, people, but I guess I just thought I'd mention that because I came across it online. Now apparently Alexander Lacazette's future at this club is dependent on whether we get Champions League football or not. Obviously, this would be our third year without Europeans elite competition. Apparently, Football London say Lacazette would like to see, more or less, the vibe I got is they would like to see what options are available to him, and he would kind of like to see how the season goes. Now, he'd have 2 years left to run. Obviously, if he doesn't sign a new deal this summer and he does last summer, that would have been a year of negotiations. Next summer, it'd be an interesting one because he's been linked with Barca, he's been linked with Atletico. He's not going to be first name on the team sheet at Barca, but these are good opportunities to play for European clubs and top clubs, challenging for things and winning trophies. He's 28, he's of the prime age to be here for a significant period, but he's not 22 and whatnot. He's been, no disrespect to Lyon, but he's been at Lyon where they're competing in the Europa and they're not necessarily the most competitive of clubs. He's been at Arsenal trying to help us get back. Potentially, these opportunities to take these offers at more respectable clubs, reputable clubs, better yet, if it does come, might be too tough to turn down. I think Lacazette is comfortable in London and at Arsenal, but who knows, people? He's 28. Probably the dangled carrot of making the Euros isn't going to happen for him because for some reason Deschamps doesn't see him, but you never know. Again, assuming he doesn't go, the next competition would be the World Cup in 2022, people. So he'll be, 30, 31. Does he then leave and go to another club where he can force his way into the international plans and go to his first? I don't know if he's got. I can't lie. I don't know if he's gone to a World Cup by France, which I don't think he has, and go to one of them things and just realise ambitions of winning trophies, because that's what you're in this business for. He's been at Arsenal, but are we going to be title winners in the next 2 years? Potentially no. I'd hope to God to be yes, but it'd probably be no, in which he'd be 30. He's got to decide what he wants to do, people. Apparently we're prioritising Aubameyang's contract because Lacazette's in 2022 or something like that. I don't even know. I think technically Aubameyang's got one less year on his contract, so we're prioritising that. I do think Aubameyang is more likely to stay than Lacazette, in which in terms of longevity, you'd probably go for Lacazette. But if Lacazette was to go and Aubameyang is 31, 32, and we can ride that sort of Aubameyang goal-scoring train for a couple of years while looking for an elite target man, or when I say target man, I mean striker, that might be something we look at, people. I know a lot of people were saying to sell either or Lacazette and Aubameyang last summer, and it was feasible. For me, you keep both of them, the two key players of the squad. I get it, people said sell them and we can reinvest the funds, but realistically, if you sell Aubameyang, that's 22 league goals out of your side. He guarantees that. You're going to need to bring in a striker that guarantees that, more or less. If you do the scouting things for strikers, then fair enough, but there'll still be clouds over that guy. You still need to bring in guaranteed goals, and someone, if you was to sell Aubameyang for 70 million, surely if you're going around trying to find elite strikers, that's going to be, you're looking at the 50 to 70, maybe even 80 million pound mark to sign these elite difference makers. We'd have to go and do that. To which, if one comes out and if we was to sell Aubameyang tomorrow and he's 31 and get someone who can do what he does at 26, that would be great. But is it really a profit or making money, or is it just selling players for the sake of it, people? I think in Aubameyang's case, we should just ride his ability. Ride him until, that sounds so wrong, but you lot are mature. Ride his sort of thing until he starts to fall off, because we must have known it, people. And at the end of the day, he guarantees goals, people. So I don't feel there's anything more to add. There's a small little segment on Bielik. He said, I was hoping that I would get a chance under the boss Unai Emery, but it turned out that he couldn't see me in his plans. At the Euros, I wanted to show myself well, and I hope that I was watched by the club. I could do a lot with good performances. Then before the championships, Milan's offer appeared, but ultimately it came to nothing. A lot of teams wanted me in the championship, but Derby was the only one with a budget. I don't want to say it's a shame now. I love Arsenal and playing for this club was my dream. However, it was necessary to stray from this path. I came to the club from the championship where I will play and gain experience. I think that after next season, if I play regularly, on a regular basis, and I can never say that word, I'll be ready for the Premier League. So that's something of nothing. I mean, big up yourself for that, people, for them words. But I would have liked to have seen Bielik given a chance, but we just have to move on from him. You don't know me. I'm going to follow the likes of Yunus Musa, Javi Amici, Vontae Daly-Campbell, obviously Bielik. I like to Josh De Silva, Charlie Gilmore, Marcus McGain. You don't know me. I like to follow our young former Arsenal players and stuff like that, people. But this was really a bit of nothing. I'm going to get out of here before someone busts that door and spoils the whole thing. So on that note, people, thank you for watching. DG, I'm out.